So the next question, who is my favorite character to write? It was definitely a toss-up between Tiffany Gibbons and Marshawn Bell. Tiffany, just because is written in her point of view. So everything's from her thinking of how everything's going to how she's perceiving everything to happen. And Marshawn Bell, just because he's a great antagonist. He's phenomenal. And he's a real good foil for Tiffany and also Hakeem Andrews and Jamar. Like he's just a great foil for the community because I didn't mention this before as far as characters, but the community, Reggie Square itself is also a character. Just like in The Wake, Reggie Square is written in a very specific way where the old marketplace, which is kind of written about like it's kind of like a homage to the Old Town Mall area of Baltimore and the Ritchie Towers area, Ritchie Homes area, the all the other parts that make up Ritchie Square. It makes the community a character. Like in Awake, it transcends into this, but you see how Ritchie Square is important to almost every character there. What books did I pull from when writing this? There's a lot of books I pulled from when I wrote this. Not in My Neighborhood, The New Jim Crow, The ISIS Papers, The Miseducation of the Negro, The Art of War, The Warmth of Other Suns, The Body Keeps the Score, Black Man Hill, The Walking Dead Compendium 2, The Extraordinary, Mr. Nobody, Mud and Tides. Like I definitely went through and studied them pretty hard to really build out a lot from this book. Honestly, Not in My Neighborhood and The New Jim Crow had a lot to do with The Wake as well. Did The Wire or Power influence the story at all? Not really. Before I started writing the Union, I haven't even watched The Wire in years. So I just started writing the Union earlier this year. And I've written six different versions of the Union so far. I'm on version number 7 right now, just because I want it to be a real good story. Um, so I like with my writing process, I'll write out different versions of a book, see what goes, what flows, and then some versions I'll just go, nah, that's not good, and write another version, I write another version. And when I did the Void and when I did the Legacy, which like I said, I did the Wake, Void, Legacy all back to back. I haven't seen The Wire since I think it was like 2005 when it stopped airing. So it didn't have no bearing on it. But I did recently rewatch it over the summer on HBO Max. So it didn't have any bearing on the storytelling at all. Power, sadly, I've never seen before. I'm a huge 50 Cent fan. I've been a fan of him since the first unofficial album that he had. It was like a mixtape. He had a feature with Nas on there and uh love 50, but I never got a chance to see Power just because I don't have a subscription to the channel that it comes on. So I do want to get around to watching it. What's the difference between Awake and a Void? The Wake tells the story of the community. It tells 7 different stories and they all intersect. So for those who haven't read The Wake is about a funeral home. So in a funeral home, there's 7 different viewing rooms slash mini chapels, and each one has a different person in there, and it tells the story of that person and what led to them becoming a body in a funeral home and how they intersect. And each one of those people lived in the Ritchie Square community, and you really find out that the Ritchie Square community is a character all by itself, and it makes you attached to the community because you get attached to the people there. The Void, it's more so about Tiffany and the interactions with people or the relationship she has with people in Ritchie Square, like her friend Sasha. and like Jamar and Hakeem, and like Marshawn Bell. Who are the returning characters from The Wake in The Void? Tiffany Gibbons, she's the main character in The Void. Her children, Darren, Daisha, RJ, and Trinity. Hakeem Andrews, Sasha Green, Gina Sims, Anna Cartwright, and Miss Claire. For those who may not remember who Anna Cartwright is, because she has a very small role, just like Sasha did. Anna Cartwright was the TV personality that was ripping Sasha Green because her son, Tyrone Clinton, had robbed or was a part of the botched robbery of the carryout. And Sasha Green, sorry, not Sasha Green, Anna Cartwright a is a TV personality, and she was a former state prosecutor in Tennessee. Miss Claire is the owner of a TV network and radio network, and she has a very, very small role in this, but she's a returning character. What makes Marshawn Bell a good antagonist? Marshawn Bell has a legit reason for what he's doing. He his motivations might not be ethical, but they do play a big part of his values. What he's doing, which is illegal, basically he's running a racket. Like he's using his department with detectives and getting money and dictating crime, and he's upsetting the established order between the two gangs, the Cabal and the Alphas, and he's using it to his advantage, and the Alphas basically have to pay him money for all the favors that he's doing. So he's getting kickbacks to do something, and the what he's doing will make a lot of sense when you read the book, because it really plays into, okay, this may be ethically wrong, but is it morally wrong? And there is no right or wrong answer, I believe. When you read it, you'll understand. And I really look forward to you reading it, and I really look forward to people's perceptions of this, because there's also another bigger question as well, as far as who and why he's doing this, and why there are opportunities to set up for other people instead of the person who or the people who he's doing this for. Was the trailer for the book directly from the novel? Yes, almost word for word. Uh, Devin Walker, a fantastic producer. He and I linked up a few times when we were doing some documentaries that he was working on. If you get a chance, check out Rise. It's on YouTube. And we were trying to shoot the Wake before, and we were trying to shoot a pilot for the Wake before with a production company that's under Netflix. And we were looking at some of the stuff from The Void, and we are going, okay, maybe we could try to shoot this, and we could try to shoot that. And I kind of pitched this scene, and it's like, let's see what happens. And we shot it almost line for line, and we kind of ad libbed some stuff in the moment, which was cool. And that's how it was. That's how it was shot. It was cool, and I'm loving the response I had from the trailer. A lot of people were like, hey, can we get this into a series? Are there any plans to make this series into a show or a movie? Devin Walker and I, we've talked about shooting a pilot, especially after we had a lot of real great responses from the trailer for the book. So we've talked about it. We pitched some ideas. We've also tried to figure out how can we incorporate the wake into this and in a series, and it's been talked about. And we've also had a pitch meeting back in 2020 with a production company about it. So who knows? I hope it does. I think it's real great. When you read it, you'll understand, especially this, The Void, you'll really understand, hey, this is a real dope series and where things are going to go, because there's a lot of different dynamics. There's the crime drama element, there's some humor in here, there's a lot of different things. It's urban drama. So there's a lot of different places it's going. And in the next book, which I'm not going to give too much away, it's gonna really pique a lot of larger audiences imagination and desire to read it, just because it doesn't just fall right into the urban genre. It falls into such a bigger genre as the story continues to grow and progress. What makes this book so different from other stories that other people can read? The story doesn't use cheap tricks of storytelling. It just doesn't, like, it doesn't rely on sex because it lacks storytelling, or it doesn't rely on just some random filler of a fight scene because it lacks storytelling or imagination. I wrote myself in the corners in this story on purpose, just to build out character development. Like, I didn't want to do cheap way outs. Uh, I watched this one thing on YouTube where a guy goes super easy, barely an inconvenience. I didn't want to do those type things in storytelling. Years ago, when I was at Coppin, I took classes like British literature and World Lit and American Lit, and I learned like a lot of real good writing and how to write yourself into tough situations, even when you hit a brick wall, looking at the situation, rereading what led there, and really writing yourself out of the difficult situation, but really having the character deal with actually build the character. And that was my point with doing The Void and doing The Legacy and currently doing The Union. And it was, I think it came out great.